Hello and welcome back to UCL Review, where we round up the biggest results and talking points from the best sporting competition in the world. Joining me tonight, it's Henry Hill, and we have yet more drama for you today on today's episode. Henry, how are you? And did you enjoy tonight's show?
Oof. When I agreed to be on UCL Review this evening and then I saw the games that we had on offer, I did think, I've wasted a Wednesday evening. But little did I know this would be an absolute treat. I'm very grateful that you gave me Dortmund versus Sevilla, because that was a lot of fun. I'm sure everyone that watched that will agree that was a lot of fun, that game.
Oh, good. I'm glad to hear it. Yeah, I mean, Juventus Porto had some moments too, but let's dive into Sevilla versus Dortmund. What went down in southern Spain, Henry?
So, Borussia Dortmund, they defied pre-game expectations with a stunning 3-2 victory away to Sevilla in the Ramon Sanchez Pizjuan. In a really lively affair, I must say. Sevilla will be kicking themselves. They came in with some real confident form. And if we look at what Dortmund came into the game with, they'd won just 3 of their previous 8 games in all competitions. And they now lie 6th in the Bundesliga, a massive 18 points behind leaders Bayern. Lots of talk from Mitchell Zorc and kind of the guys in charge there that they have to finish in the top 4. And their away form in the UCL knockout stages has not been great either. They've lost their last 6 away games, conceding 12 and only scoring 2. Their only victory in the last 12 away knockout games coming against Zenit St. Petersburg in February 2014. So really, the cards are kind of stacked against them for this game. Although, what was going to be really interesting was to see how they would react to the news that Gladbach boss, Marco Reus, will be taking over in the summer. What will he be taking over, I guess, is the question. But if we get into the game itself, it didn't take long for Sevilla to expose those kind of defensive frailties that we've seen from Dortmund this year. Suso selling Sancho literally for a dummy, and then his shot deflecting in off Hummels past Marvin hits in the goal. It was kind of, from that moment on, you thought this is going to be a bit of a disaster for Dortmund. They looked really shaky, and that's now 9 games since they kept a clean sheet. However, sure enough, they did liven up, and they hit back 10 minutes later through Mo Dahoud in the centre midfield. A really lovely curling finish into the top corner, and from there the first half just went off really from there, because Erling Haaland, he got in on the act in a big way too. By the half-hour mark, he got the ball, sort of menace in his eyes, powered through, played a beautiful 1-2 with Jadon Sancho, and just wanted it more than Bono in the goal. Slid it past him there. But then before half-time, it was 3-0. Papu Gomez this time, I think on his Champions League debut for Sevilla, he had his pocket picked by Marco Reus, who slipped in Haaland. I must say, it was a pretty terrifying 3-on-1 situation. Reus, Sancho and Haaland bearing down on the one defender. But he slipped in Haaland and he made absolutely no mistake. One touch finish. I mean, he was on fire. He clearly
electric.
Maybe going 1-0 down really just got into him. They had to improve. Anyway, that was the first half. Second half was all Sevilla, but they didn't really do anything at all. Oscar Rodriguez came off the bench. He would hit the post from a free kick with 15 minutes to go. Then another substitute, Luke de Jong. He snuck in at the far post from another Rodriguez free kick to make it 3-2 with about 5 minutes to go. And that set up a bit of a grand slam finish after, slightly disappointing second half compared to the first. And then right at the very end of the drama, just to keep it going a little bit, a VAR check in the dying moments after Thomas Meunier manhandled de Jong in the box. Really, you've seen refs, some other refs would have given that, and he's quite lucky. But 3-2, vital away, last minute goal for Sevilla, but 3 away goals for Dortmund. But, Duke, you've got to think that Julen Lopetegui, he's going to be kicking himself after this performance.
Yeah, absolutely. Sevilla have been one of the form teams in Europe going into this game. They went into this game having won 9 games in a row in all competitions, including a 2-0 win away at Barcelona in the semi-finals of the Copa del Rey, that first leg as well. And they'd kept 7 straight clean sheets prior to tonight, but they now sit 5 points behind Real Madrid and 1 behind Barcelona in 4th in La Liga. And they've now reached the knockout stages for the 5th time in 6 years, but have only made it past the last 16 on one occasion in 17-18 when they went on to lose 2-1 to Bayern Munich. And it's going to be incredibly difficult to overturn this in the Westfalenstadion, having conceded those 3 away goals. And the main issue for them was the fact that they couldn't really unleash their star striker, Youssef En-Nesyri, who's scored 17 goals in all competitions this term. He's been on a real hot streak in La Liga. He had 0 shots on the night, 12 touches overall, and was dispossessed once. And he was apparently given no help by the midfield and subbed off after 60 minutes. So a pretty bleak display from him. Subs Oscar Rodriguez did make a bit of a difference though. 1 assist, 1 key pass, 5 tackles won, 2 successful dribbles, but it was a case of too little too late really. And they dominated possession 65-35, especially in the second half, but could only muster 4 shots on target and didn't really trouble hits. I think he was only just forced into a save just twice. But yeah, it was a really disappointing display from them, particularly that first half capitulation, although that De Jong goal could prove to be vital, particularly with the way Dortmund have defended throughout this campaign. Some great performances for the Yellows though. Sancho completed 4 dribbles, 2 key passes, 2 shots and an assist, and De Hood, who's had a bit of a meandering time in the last 2 years or so.
Yeah.
He's been overtaken by a lot of players. He was supposed to be the new sort of fulcrum of this side going forward. He actually had a really good game on this occasion. He won 3 out of 3 tackles and contributed a goal as well. Confidence showing from Bellingham, but Haaland was definitely the star of the show. He had 3 shots on target, 2 goals, 2 key passes, 1 assist and 1 aerial duel win. Koundé and Diego Carlos are going to be having absolute nightmares of Haaland running at them throughout this game. He doesn't run like a footballer. He doesn't sort of play like a footballer, but my God, it is effective. And someone on the halftime show was saying he looks like a 16-year-old playing against 14-year-olds. And the fact he's still so young, it is actually terrifying. And on a night when, in a week rather, when Messi and Cristiano Ronaldo have dropped pretty below par performances, I would say, it's been really poetic to see Mbappé and Haaland really come to the fore so far. So well done to them. He had 16 goals in the Champions League in 12 games going into this. The fastest player to reach that tally in the competition's history. It took Ruud van Nistelrooy and Roberto Soldado 16 games to get to that tally. But of course, now he has 18 in 13. A quite ridiculous tally. And considering I think Mbappé had 40 goal involvements, so goals and assists in 41 games, it's clear that Haaland has actually started the more spectacularly in this year's in the competition as a whole, I should say, sorry. Up next for Dortmund, well, they'll be looking to build on this against Schalke in the Ruhr Derby on Saturday. A massive, massive game for both sides, that is, while Sevilla take on 12th place Osasuna on Monday. I mean, Henry, you were the one that was watching this game. What can you take from it in terms of Dortmund's chances of going deep into this competition? Was it just an entertaining game, or could you see the signs that they might be able to get to a semi-final maybe?
I mean, they have to do very well. When you look at some of the Liverpool competent performance last night, PSG too, but when you got Haaland on the pitch, anything can happen. And with Sancho and Reus, Marco Reus playing a really good performance again, you'll always give him that outside chance. But I mean, that Luke de Jong goal right at the end really has set this up for a bit of a thriller back in Dortmund, because I was going to say, if it was 3-1, there's no way I could see Sevilla overturning that. But considering their defensive frailties, anything could happen. But no, I think they really need to focus on getting into the top 4 in the Bundesliga and not rely on the Champions League, because that would be a real disaster if it came down to that.
Fair. Where there's a Haaland, there's a hope maybe. Guys,
Yes.
Get your thoughts about his display in the comment section down below. And let's move on to our second game.
So far, other game this evening, we were in Portugal, where Andrea Pirlo was having his first taste of knockout management with Juventus. How did he get on, Doogie?
Not very well, to be totally honest. It took about 75 minutes for Juventus to get going here, as they lost 2-1 to FC Porto in the Estadio de Dragão, as you say, with goals from both of their strikers, Taremi and Marega, and Chiesa getting a consolation late on. Actually, while I say consolation, it could prove to be a crucial away goal. But Juventus had been pretty solid recently. They'd only conceded 2 goals in their previous 8 games in all competitions, and their Champions League results up to this point had been excellent. They'd won 5 of their 6 group games, including a 3-0 win at the Nou Camp to top Group G on goal difference and avoid that last 16 tie against PSG, in which Barcelona came a cropper last night. But they were poor, very, very poor here. And it wasn't as if they had many excuses in terms of injuries. Juan Cuadrado was missing with a hamstring injury, but Pirlo chose to go with Kulusevski instead of Morata or Dybala up front, and it did really backfire, actually. They struggled to get into the game. It was a really turgid display. It really lacked energy. It lacked sort of angles. It lacked commitment. It was walking football at times. There was such a lack of intensity in this game, and I don't know whether that's down to the players not being up for it, Pirlo's tactical setup. It was actually a pretty embarrassing display from Juventus, and they were pretty lucky to come away with a 2-1 defeat. They started absolutely appallingly. Bentenacur made a terrible error trying to do a back pass to Szczesny, whose clearance deflected in off Taremi and went in. It was the quickest goal scored in the knockout stages since a David Alaba effort in April 2013, and the third fastest Juventus had conceded in Champions League/European Cup history. So not ideal. And by 34 minutes, it hadn't really got much better. They'd had 68% of the ball, but only one shot to Porto's 4 shots with 2 on target. And to make matters worse, Chiellini had to come off with an injury. Demiral came on in his place, and Danilo then picked up a yellow card in the second half, which means he's likely to miss he's missing the second leg. He's not likely to. He's out. He's suspended. He's gone. Finito. So pretty disastrous. Start the second half. The commentators were saying, Juventus need to start well. They could still turn it around. But no, 20 seconds into it, Moussa Marego tucked home his 10th goal of the season after a Wilson Manafa cutback down the right-hand side. 82nd minute, they did get a goal back. Chiesa scored after a Rabiot run down the left, one of the only times we saw a midfielder make a run beyond the front line in the entire game. He's the first player, get this, to score a knockout goal for Juventus who isn't Ronaldo since Blaise Matuidi versus Real Madrid in April 2018.
Oh dear.
That sums it up. Embarrassing, really. And what it means, well, Juventus could well exit at the last 16 stage for the 3rd consecutive season. They, of course, lost to Ajax in 2018-19 and Lyon last year. And since their final appearance in 2017, they haven't made it past the quarterfinals. As I said, they won't get past the last 16 this year either if they reproduce this sort of limp display in Turin. So it was a really, really damaging night for Juventus, although that away goal, I can just see them turning around in Turin, unfortunately. But they don't really deserve to go through on the basis of this leg. They were absolutely appalling. But Henry, what about for Porto? Because what a win for them.
I mean, what a great night for them. And their manager in particular, Sergio Conceição, who played for the club over 2 spells, has now beaten Juventus. Get this, for the first time in the club's 127-year history. I was amazed when I read that. I would have thought at least at one point in time that it got the better of them. But not to be, it seems. However, the 29-time Portuguese champions hadn't even been in great form recently. They'd drawn 4 of their last 6 games and now 10 points behind runaway leaders Sporting Lisbon with 17 to play. I think they meet in a couple of weeks, which would be a really interesting clash there. But weirdly tonight, considering their performances, it's actually their defence which has been the issue. They've scored 43 goals. That's 2.3 goals per game. Pretty nuts. But they've conceded 21. That's 3 more than anyone else in the top 6 of the Primeira Liga in Portugal. In the Champions League, though, it's been a completely different story. They clearly love it on the European stage. They've collected 13 points from 6 games in the groups and only conceded 3 times, none at home. So that Chiesa goal, the first time they've conceded at home in the competition this season. And they were really solid, very organised and clearly motivated. Wilson Manafa was their key man, making 2 tackles, 2 clearances, 2 dribbles, 2 key passes and laying on an assist for Marega as well. If you consider all the kind of midfield quality that Juventus had out there, certainly defensive quality, that's a really impressive performance from Manafa there. But Juve was seriously poor. I mean, on paper, as we said, Rabiot and Bentenacur look good. 10 tackles and interceptions between them and 6 key passes. But, I mean, the first thing I said to you when we saw that lineup is it just doesn't look like there's much dynamism in there. And sure enough, Porto organised, solid, knew what they're up against, and they really delivered in that front. And one of the key reasons behind that too was that they kept Ronaldo very quiet, probably still having nightmares from that wonder goal he scored for Manchester United all those years ago at Porto. But he only had 1 shot, 2 key passes and 3 dribbles, and he thought he had a penalty late on, but that would have been a bit of a soft decision. Similar stories in both games, it appears. Anyway, up next for Juventus, they travel to 20th place Crotone on Monday, so the perfect chance to bounce back from this defeat, whilst Porto take on 14th place Maritimo on the same time. But I completely agree with you, Doogie. That Chiesa goal, you could just see it now in Turin. Ronaldo scoring a couple there. Broken hearts of Porto. But, yeah. I mean, did you see enough from the Portuguese outfit to suggest that they could maybe go and make it a historic double over Juventus?
I mean, on the basis of tonight's display, I'd really hope so. They were incredibly well organised. Two banks of 4 and then 2 up front. They worked so much harder than Juventus. I wish I had the running stats available to me. I'm sure they'll come out tomorrow. But they ran Juventus off the park. They conceded very few high-quality chances. They kept Kulusevski incredibly quiet. They kept Ronaldo incredibly quiet. And it's just slightly worrying for Juventus. You feel like unless they put together a challenge in Serie A this year or win the Coppa Italia against Atalanta, which will be at the end of the campaign, if they lose lose in the last 16 or get knocked out in the quarterfinals even, you feel like Andrea Pirlo might lose his job, which is not really what you want to see so young into his fledgling managerial career. So it's worrying times for Pirlo, it's worrying times for Juventus fans, but Bianconeri faithful, what did you make of this display? Were you as worried by it as I was? Like, I thought this was a really tragic display from Juve. I can't really put it into words just how bad they were. They were very, very lucky to get this away goal. But let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. And Henry, if they have enjoyed this episode of UCL Review, what else should they go and watch in the Football Daily universe, I should say?
Oh, well, if you didn't see last night's Champions League review, go back and check that out. And then we've got something on Eden Hazard, the fall of Eden Hazard. Always worth having a look into. Is it his fault, his big decline? You decide by watching our video.
Perfect. Thanks very much for watching, guys. We'll see you next time. Bye.